Well, I made a mistake because I went to the store today and I actually picked up a couple of things. It was a little bit of a treat yourself type of day. But what I found that was interesting, that was the mistake ultimately, was this little guy right here. And when I say little, I mean little. This is not very tall. Of course, I didn't know that when I bought it, and I really should have, because it actually came in a pack of 3 different builds, and I was like, this is such good value for $5, except that it says Micro Brix right on the title there. It's showing the size, and yet somehow it did not dawn on me that these were Micro Brix. Very silly. So I went ahead and took this first one out here. I don't know why I started with this one, but yeah, I'm happy with it. It's a neat set in theory. In practice, though, it is an incredibly tedious set. One of the most tedious things I think I've built in a very long time, and part of the reason for that is because just the clutch power is not super great on these parts, and notably these parts are not at all compatible with Lego. The studs on this are smaller than a bar from Lego, so I don't know what you'd even do with these parts after using them here. I don't think you're going to be building anything of your own with the parts included in this. I do like the flower pot for what it's worth. It's 2 separate pieces that stack one on top of the other, although there's a little bit of flashing on the side, which might speak to the quality of these pieces. And speaking of quality, one of the things I found quite interesting was that this set had a ton of extra pieces included in it as well. Many that didn't just feel like they made a whole lot of sense to me, which leads me to believe you probably also will run into a few of these that don't have enough pieces, and that's not a good sign, but hey, I don't know. If I crack open the other 2, maybe I'll find out. Do I want to? Not really. I had enough when I built this one, and I have 2 more that I'm supposed to build. I really don't want to. I don't look forward to it. I don't want to torture myself. So I even thought about starting this video off by just crumbling this, but I didn't want to end up this video with PTSD having to rebuild this once again. So do I think you would like it? Well, it depends. If you're somebody that's very, let's say space comes at a premium for you, and you like the succulents, or you like the botanicals from Lego, you might enjoy having these in the background. Just note that this is something you probably build once and never touch again. Also, don't look at it funny because it might fall apart on you. Again, clutch power is terrible, which means this is probably one you'd actually want to glue together, and I'm not opposed to that. I think you can absolutely do that with your own builds as you see fit. But I did pick up some actual Lego pieces today. Exciting ones? Well, just a couple. This is mostly extraneous stuff that I just didn't have a lot of in my collection, or maybe parts that I use a lot of but always seem to run out of. Also, just replacing some common parts like this one here that are just very prone to breaking, because, well, if they're prone to breaking, I might as well replace the ones that I have that are broken. But I did find a few interesting pieces, notably this one here. It's not terribly interesting, but they're not terribly common in black yet either, so getting more of them in that color is always fun. However, this is reasonably uncommon in black. It is a crown 24 tooth gear, and I actually found 2 of those today. But I think the most interesting thing I found outside of a Bionicle mask is actually this right here. It's just a Bionicle 2008 wing, although I have this like silly knack where I want to now collect them in every color they're available in, which I don't know why I'd want to do that to myself, but hey, I don't mind it. Yellow, however, is one of the rarer colors from this because it only came out in 1 set as far as I know, unless something new came out between the last time I checked and today. And so it's good to have these because it was 1 set from 2000 and I think like 17 or 18. I think it was like a Batgirl or a Catwoman set, but do not quote me on that. And I found both of them. That set only comes with 2. I have 2 now. That's fantastic. And I wanted them also in yellow anyway because I talked recently in a video about how you can actually make little gliders for the McDonald's Matoran, and in their color too. Obviously this is Joller's color, so it's wonderful to have a glider that he can carry around with him whenever he wants to. I love that. But I did find a mask. Is it an exciting mask? I think that's up to you. I found this one here. It was $4, which is, I don't think is the worst thing in the world given how expensive these sets can get, and also because now I can basically build this guy. Technically, the shell pieces I have from in dark blue are bootlegs, but I don't care. They work well enough, and yeah, they'll be fine. Do I plan on building it? No, probably not, but hey, it's nice to know. And of course, if I want to create more molds of it in the future for resin printing, or resin casting rather, I can. I have a mold for it already, but eventually that's going to break down, so nice to have another one of those official as it stands. But outside of Lego, I did find a few other things that I do find quite interesting, notably this little build right here, which I've actually done a review on another build from this brand in the past as well. It's from it's from Five Below. I was going to say Dollar General. That's not right. From Five Below, and they kind of went viral a couple of years ago, I believe, and they've been doing pretty well ever since. I picked up this one specifically, notably for the brown pieces in the set, which are actually dark tan. I was kind of crossing my fingers hoping they'd even be met true brown. They're not that, but you know, there's still pieces that don't currently exist in dark tan, and now I have some. Interestingly, it also comes with an axle in the set that's a 2-length axle without the notches, but in light gray, and then it also comes with a 3-length axle with a stud that's in black. Only one of them, but hey, it's nice to have it. Also, this little Technic connector here in white, which I think only came from Lego in silver. Granted, you only get one in the set, but some of the other sets actually use that piece as well and have multiples of them. So nice to know that there are options. There weren't a crazy amount of different sets there today. Most of them were the same because clearly people are buying these. But yeah, it's nice to have them either way. So pretty happy with that set overall, although I will make one complaint, and that is that this entire flower is only held on by a single stud, which is not terribly strong. So having the weight of this bear down on that single stud there, not super. The yellow that you see on the set, outside of the center, of course, is Keat Orange. So the clamshell pieces and these dome pieces are that color. If you've ever wanted to revamp Katangu or something, I think those dome pieces especially are great pieces for that. Or if you want to make a miniature, you can always get those clamshell pieces as well. Both quite good pieces for a revamp for him. So moving on from there, I picked up one more set today. However, I did not actually purchase it. I bought it a few days ago. I think I found it on AliExpress for $1 of all things, but I figured it made sense to do in this video because it's actually one of the Pokemon Mega Construx sets. Obviously, as I was doing research for those videos, I ended up finding this one. I was like, well, $1, I'm not going to pass it up. And it is a 2-character set. Granted, I'm really only interested in Machop here, being a Gen 1 Pokemon. This right here is Galarian Zigzagoon. I'm going to keep saying that name, and I'm going to say it wrong every time. I'm not terribly familiar with the Galarian stuff, so I have no idea how accurate it is. A lot of parts, mostly because there's a lot of cheese wedges on here. Not my favorite thing in the world, but hey, you get a decent amount of them if that's something you want. And I think overall it looks pretty cool as it stands, but of course the Machop I like quite a bit more. Interestingly though, this is the 2nd edition or 3rd edition, I have no idea, of this Machop, and so now it's blue. In the past, if I recall correctly, he was actually gray in his 1st edition form. I had that form, and he had yellow spikes on the top rather than gray spikes, so kind of weird that he changed color, but I think it's still appropriate because yeah, his color in Pokemon itself, especially in like cards over time, has also kind of shifted, so it does make sense. But this build also came with a little landscape as well, and I hate to say this, but I have never been a fan of Mega Construx's landscapes specifically. Also, Mega Construx's does not sound right. Point being, this one is terrible looking. I think it's just messy, it's noisy. They always tend to be, and they have no real rhyme or reason to them. They do not treat landscapes like a work of art in the way that Lego often does, depending on what set you're buying, of course. Obviously, for cheaper sets, I think this is fine. And again, I bought this for $1. I think in stores, it's like 10 or 15 or something like that. So I'm not going to complain that much. But just note that, you know, if you were buying this in the store, this is the landmass you're getting. However, I will say its one saving grace is that the function in it is pretty decent because you spin this little turntable around here and it has this platform that moves. And the idea is that you put Machop on the platform out here, you put Zigzagoon on this one in here, and then when Machop like does a roundhouse kick or something, the Zigzagoon runs backwards into the cave. Or you could, I guess, have him come out of the cave when Machop swings the other direction. Whatever the case may be, whatever suits your purposes, I think that's pretty cool. It allows you to sort of simulate battle or whatever. I think kids will really quite enjoy that. Interestingly, though, it has this little plant in the way, but that plant is connected to a little rubber hose. That hose assembly comes pre-made already, which is definitely helpful because doing that yourself would be a little bit tedious and difficult. But yeah, it is kind of nice to see. However, one little critique that I have is that these 2 archways do not actually join in the middle. The set had enough pieces, including an extra jumper. I was able to join them, but that dark green jumper there is not supposed to be there. And in that case, this side of the archway and that side of the archway are not connected at all, which means it'd be very easy to knock them off of here. And ultimately, I'm just not as big a fan of Mega Construx parts quality. There are many brands that have surpassed Mega in brick quality. Lego has always had better bricks than them, in my opinion. They just feel better, feel more premium. The clutch power feels better. Mega's always been serviceable in the past anyway, but now we have so many knockoff brands that are near identical to Lego or on par with Lego. Like, these pieces feel like they are Lego pieces. They feel adequate. That Mega set, however, the clutch power is a little more inconsistent than Lego. Certain pieces feel a little more inconsistent. The instructions can be a little bit harder to read sometimes, and ultimately, it's just I don't know. It ain't my favorite thing, at least in terms of brands. But yeah, it's still an interesting set. I think for $1, it's a good purchase, obviously. And just about anything for $1 for Lego or Lego-like parts is pretty decent. So would I recommend anything in this video? Yes to the Mega Construx build if you get it for $1. No if it's like 12 or 15 or whatever. Would I recommend the flower thing? Yeah, I definitely would. I think the parts are definitely useful. They have plenty of other options to choose from as well. I've already done a review on a Lily build that they had in the past. There's actually an older version, like in the first line that they released, that was a Lily build, but it had these flexible white hoses that Lego has, but the Lego ones are like $7 or $8 a piece, and that set had 4 of them, which is pretty cool. The newer version that I ended up getting was a white Lily and it had these pink swords on it. Those were also cool. Not expensive by any means because they're not a color Lego produces, although they're a really nice color. But again, that's a separate video. Already made that one. And then lastly, would I recommend this? That's entirely up to you. I'm not a huge fan of mini bricks, of micro bricks, and this is one of the worst experiences I think I've had. Though I do like the planters at the very least, even though they're not Lego compatible. Maybe you could find a way to wedge something in there that's Lego shaped, or that works, or, you know, Dremel something out or glue something on it to make it work with Lego. The bottom also does not have any sort of anti-stud anything going on down there, so even its own parts probably wouldn't connect very well to this, which is kind of a shame. Anyway, that's it for this one. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe. It helps out the channel. And of course, as always, I will leave Instagram specifically linked down in the description below, and if any of this stuff is relevant, I'll be posting it there as well. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.